And welcome to the report. It's your boy, Mr. Remarkable, and I have a serious question for you. Xmen 97, is it any good? Let's talk about it on the report. We're on the report.
Oh God, we're. But no, Xmen 97, I'm going to jump right into it. I've only watched 5 episodes.
This man should not be able to talk about this. You're banned.
So, spoiler alert, I got to the point where Gambit exploded, and it was awesome. So, I am pleased as a 90s fan to have seen Gambit. It actually shedded a tear because, first of all, Rogue should have died because she was already untouchable in the first place, so bun that girl. And secondly, Gambit
you're just
was
upset because
the
they edited her ass. That's why you're like,
I'm not upset. I'm not that upset because you have to remember in that series when it comes to girls with asses, there was also Psylocke. Let's not forget how she was holding it down for the whole thing. And if you watched Marvel versus Capcom or Marvel the fighting game, Psylocke was in it and she was a baddie. And on top of that, I was about to say Jean Grey, then I caught myself remembering that she's a number 2 pencil.
I will never understand how you mans find cartoons sexy, bro. It'll boggle my mind forever. I haven't thought a cartoon was sexy since I was 6 years old and saw Jessica Rabbit, bro.
We haven't grown up.
So you did think that Jessica Rabbit was sexy?
Yeah, when I was a kid and never seen real titties
And in
yet.
all fairness, I've seen the things you go for, and they're very Jessica Rabbit-esque. It does make sense. So it did translate. The 6-year-old you is still alive.
It never grew up. We just never grew up.
Manifested in real life.
But no, like, what are your guys' thoughts on this series, though? This series, like, do we like it? Do we like the direction they're going with? I know I'm not as deep as you guys, so...
Well, I mean, for me, I find it to be the perfect piece of nostalgia. And what I mean by this is we left 98 probably when we were just leaving high school.
You mean going into high school?
Like, no, I'm saying when the series completely ended, we were probably just getting, like, what, grade 10 or grade 11 is when the series completely ended, if I'm correct?
Yes, math.
Yeah. So, realistically, we have not lived that. Like, it just reminds me of my childhood. It brings me back to that nostalgic point of sitting in front of the television, watching kids' cartoons again, 9 a.m. in the morning on a Saturday. Like, I have that same nostalgic feeling. It brought all of that back because the animation style was close to it. The characters aren't, the character voices aren't exactly accurate, but they're close enough to make me have that same nostalgic feeling of when I was like 17, 16 years old watching cartoons.
Yeah.
No, I know some of, but I mean, not all of them. But you see what I'm saying? It's just like, it's a great series because it didn't change. It didn't change the whole entire theme and the feeling of the show. But the things that did change did not change the show for any worse. Like, there's a bunch of controversy with Morph being non-binary, but to be honest, they made the character better to some degree. I myself had an issue with
non-binary before.
No,
we don't know. Actually.
We don't know. They never really announced it. They
like,
just
how can a mutant be non-binary or binary or whatever?
So back in the day when the cartoon really started in the early 90s, Morph was controversial because of the fact that he closely represented somebody who was gay, right? His characteristics and mannerisms, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So what they're taking advantage of right now, and I use that term generally speaking, is the fact that Morph can be anything.
Yeah.
Man, woman, whatever.
Yeah, anything.
Like he can
zebra. It doesn't matter.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So with that being said, he normally transforms into other mutants, and he also by doing so can exhibit some of their powers, not to the full extent, but like a variation of it. So his character, you'll often see him transform into actual other people.
Bro, I see them transform into Jean Grey a couple of times.
Yeah,
and he tried as a Zeus. What's his name?
Yeah, so if you go through a list, it's a Zeus. He's transformed into Magic. He's transformed into
Archangel.
Hulk.
A bunch of people. Yeah.
You want to know who Magic is?
No, I have a question. I'm sorry. I just don't want Coley to yell at me. For some reason, I don't want to interject too loudly.
Hey, good use of the word.
You know what I'm saying? He's learning.
Fuck you. I had some vocabulary. Thank you very much. My vernacular is not that bad.
My take book.
All right, but okay. So if Morph doesn't really have a gender, and Morph turns into Jean Grey, and then decides that he's feeling a little randy and fucks Wolverine as Jean Grey, is Wolverine gay and is Morph gay, or is Wolverine fucking a woman because Morph is a woman at that point?
Look at the philosopher.
Yo, the philosophizer.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to wonder, like, if Morph is as Jean Grey and fucking Wolverine, and then decides to turn into Scott, and all of a sudden Jean Grey's turns into a body hole.
So,
like, I just want to know
if Morph wanted to be that ratchet, then he probably could. But I would say the answer to that is because he's the truest sense of being non-binary. He can 100% represent either male or female.
But then why do we refer to Morph as he and him?
Because that's the origin of the character. That's the only reason why we know. We only know him as he at the beginning.
Gotcha.
So technically, it's not.
I wish I was
gay.
Morph. That'd be fucking dope.
Huh?
It's not.
No,
gay,
it wouldn't be gay. That's what
I mean, to some degree, it wouldn't be because of the fact
I
that.
thought we talked about this.
Did we?
Yeah, we talked about the jumping on things. Two men are making a point, and you want to jump on the thing.
We talk about
This man.
no.
You were making a point. I was coming on board.
Getting chastised live on the report.
Go ahead, Rose.
No, I was done. But yeah, no. So Morph, if you were to sleep with Morph in his girl form, you in particularly would not be labeled by the mandem. I believe.
No, I think so.
Some people would still say you're questionable though.
I think
Where else did I see that? Oh, that
Mystique.
No. The TV show on Prime with the superheroes that are really bad. The University version, the boys, but the Gen V one. There's a fucking character on there that turned into a man and a woman.
So that's why I was saying, since we're having this grand debate in society where people are like, oh, if I feel like a woman, I'm a woman. I identify as a woman. The reason why that situation is kind of being difficult to swallow is the simple fact that genetically speaking, you can never 100% transit. Like, we don't have the technology to
transition.
Hold on, we're wildly off topic.
No. Well, we are, but we're kind of going back to this. Trust me.
Okay, go for it.
So to answer your question, because of the fact that he can fulfill the role, I'm quite confident that with his power, like I said, he's transformed into various characters throughout the series and exhibited their abilities, right? Not to the full extent. Like, when he turns into Jean, he's not going to be able to do psychic powers because that's out of the scope. But he's turned into Hulk. He's actually been able to smash things. He's turned into certain characters, and he's been able to exhibit. He's been able to transform into Wolverine and protrude his claws, but he doesn't have the healing factor because that's too complex for him. His power is derived based off his understanding of the other person's power. I'm quite certain he could probably produce an optic blast if he really wanted to, because he's witnessed Scott do it, and the basic principle is the aerobic quartz and the dimension that he does this thing. So to answer that question, if he can exhibit powers, I'm quite certain he could go 100% into a female, into the point where potentially having birth. Like, that would be the really question. Can he have birth?
I was about to say, the only question I was going to ask a million times ago before we circle jerk this whole thing is, Morph can't have kids. Morph cannot do anything full way. Meaning that if he were to just live his life as a quote unquote other character now for the rest of his entire life, the second his mental slips, he reverts back to Morph.
So technically, according to that
therefore,
logic,
he has to consciously be thinking about it
that person
or to
at
stay in that
all
form.
times. So therefore, how can he truly be that person if he has to subconsciously think about it?
So I figured it out. According to Xmen logic, you would technically be bi, which means that you are gay.
Hold on, why would I?
Because you're the one who it's your question. That's why I asked
if more fucked Wolverine, nigga, do I have
Wolverine? So Wolverine would be bi then, technically.
Yes.
Well,
and
pause.
Since you're bi, you're technically gay. That's
you're
all I'm
the one
saying.
wearing pink. I'm bi.
But I have a question. I watched this episode. I watched the series, and the first thing I've noticed that jumped out at me like entirely is that they made Cyclops like
A G?
not a G. They're trying to make him cool, but in my head, I know he's not. So, like, what's up with that?
But again, you were basing it based off of him being a Boy Scout back in the day.
You mean normal Scott?
Why isn't Cyclops cool?
So in the original 6th season,
I never seen him moonwalk with his visor. That's all I'm saying. And
well, so we can either attribute it to the fact that they're taking certain liberties with the characters and allowing them to expand their characters a lot more than just their token superficial one-dimensionality, or because this is a continuation, he's learned some new abilities.
Okay, rewind.
They've also
Token super dense real. What the fuck did you say?
I've really used regular words there.
His tokenism. So, you know the character Token from South Park?
Yeah,
Why do they call him Token?
because he's the only black guy.
Right. So he inhibits all the characteristics of a black person, or expected to, even though like his parents are rich and everything like that. So the term token usually associates to a stereotype.
There's the
So
other
if
word
you're-
that you used that I didn't get.
Yeah. What?
I don't know. Go on.
boys. Well,
Disassociation. So it's tokenism and an association. So it's just like if you see a jock, you look at a jock, you're gonna think that he's into sports, he's about girls, he's stupid, all that sort of stuff. All those associations. You see an Asian person with a book, you'd be like, they're smart. They probably get it's what you perceive of them without getting to know them. So because the limited abilities of the cartoons, we can either say in the production it was because they didn't have the ability to say, hey, people can be multi-dimensional. They can have more than one interest or ability, or it's just like, hey, I look at Wolverine, he's the angry one. I look at Jean, she's a smart, good girl. We look at Storm, she's supposed to be the sassy one because she's black, right? Like, those are the things that are probably prevalent more in the 90s, and then now we're taking liberties to it. Or like I said, if we want to do the continuity, because of their adventures, they've probably gotten better skilled, more confident, just like anything else, right? Like, we can watch basketball players. Steph Curry wasn't Steph Curry from the jump. It's all the years of training and all the conditioning from him and his dad and all that sort of stuff, to the point where now he's dribbling a ball and he can be like, oh, the floor isn't even.
short
right?
version, he's getting better.
So,
But
It's
to
in
use
the
a
comics.
basketball analogy, not every character would get better because Ben Simmons actually got worse as a career
No,
went
in-
on. And I feel like,
like to point out
Cyclops is the
okay.
Ben Simmons of the X-Men group.
Really?
That's what I think. Like,
Nice segue.
you know what? Cyclops in the first 2 episodes did 2 cool things until he figured out that he was with a clone. Then he
turned
went
into
back
SWAT.
to old Cyclops that I remember. That's all I'm saying.
It's a part of the comic series. Inside of the comic series, like, I don't want to ruin the ending, but it's in the comics. It's not the same thing. They're gonna change it probably. Scott becomes a villain in this series.
No way.
That's his entire villain arc. This is the Phoenix villain arc they're using. They're not doing the exact story, but they're using pieces of it. Scott does become cooler. He does become an asshole. He does become less like a Boy Scout in this
So
one.
right now we're seeing him as Black Spider-Man? Like when
Little bit.
Spider-Man had the symbiote,
little
he
bit,
came out and he's
little
dancing
bit, yes.
out
You're
the
seeing more
restaurants?
attitude from him here. This is Scott's version of the Phoenix Saga. They're taking pieces from the comic and making him a little bit more cooler. You're seeing elements being brought from the comics in this. Like, for me, this is what I'm seeing from the early adaptations. Like Rogue's Magneto suit. That's directly from the comics. Rogue having Rogue's green suit that they're changing. All of that stuff is directly from the comics. The relationship with Rogue and Magneto directly from the comics.
Yeah.
They're pulling certain things in from the comics and they're using them to expand the storyline. It may not all be canon, but they're using small pieces of it to make the storyline better.
they're taking liberties. So it kind of goes back to what I was alluding to, because now they have the capacity to make these guys more multidimensional, right? Like, we have a better understanding as the original fans. Plus, kids of today have a little bit more capacity. They're used to seeing people that are interested in multiple things, that represent multiple things. So those those characteristics can be understood a lot better, opposed to them being like, this guy's the leader, this guy's this guy's the bad guy. When it comes to the introduction of the comic books, again, I think it's because of the fact that they're like, we have all this lore. Plus, they're encouraging people to read. So it's kind of like, it's back in the day, cartoons used to sell toys. They're not going to benefit from that anymore. So it's like, what can we sell back to people to consume on?
It's not Scott Summers.
Well, it's not.
No, technically, the thing is that you're also in the summer,
on this hill.
You're also in the summer of the anti-hero. You also got to realize that most of the tropes that we're watching right now, especially inside of like comic book and like comic book fiction, is all the anti-hero story. It's the best for like Joker, all of the villain stories we're watching. We're in the summer of the anti-villain. Like Scott needed an upgrade because to keep up with all, like, let's be honest, watching a Boy Scout character like who just does the right thing all the time, that's Superman. We've seen it already.
It'd be crazy.
Yeah, and Superman's your favorite character.
No, it isn't. But we'll keep it moving. But I'm just saying it's very cringy to like. The only reason why Superman works is because the people who are in his life are complete polar opposite of him. A lot of times, like Lois is very adventurous. She takes risks. She doesn't care about anything else. Superman, like Jimmy Olsen's probably the only one closest to Superman in the entire series.
Hold on. You're making a good point. I think the reason why Superman works on being such a Boy Scout too is because any variation would make him a problem.
Yes. No, but they have done this before, and most people have. Like, all right, perfect example of this. When they released the Superman, the new Superman versus Batman, my father-in-law hated that movie because he says it almost ruined his childhood of watching Superman be a villain for a second. That whole entire thing messed with his entire identity of what a superhero is. He's like, that's not supposed to happen. And I tried to tell him, like, this is them evolving the story. He goes back. He's just like, no, that's not what I like. You know what I mean? It's like, not what I grew up on, not what I like, not da-da-da. And I'm like, I understand that because you grew up with the hero story. This is an anti-hero story.
He sounds mad.
He was a little bit.
That's kind of like me and Scott Summers. I'm mad that they're trying to make him cool. I refuse.
No, but I can understand that. No, I completely
I
agree.
use a church term. I rebuke this nonsense. So, like,
you're the old man on the lawn.
My whole thing, if you got this far in the podcast somehow, salute to you. But secondly, am I the only person who's just like out of straight?
Yes.
One Scott Summers. I hope Mr. Sinister stabs that guy and takes his
child. If you were up to all the episodes, you would see what happened.
He did take his child.
Stop the foolishness. For him, he hasn't watched it
It's
yet.
okay. It's already too late. You know what? We're not going to spoil shit. I'm going to jump to something else. Let's talk about Deadpool 3. I saw the trailer.
He's like, I can't handle this. I don't want to see what's happening.
So my question is, throughout there, what do we think Deadpool 3 is gonna be? Like, is it gonna be a proper movie? Is it gonna be a trash fest?
Can I jump out the window?
Yeah, go for it.
I think it's going to be tragically terrible.
You don't have a healing factor, right?
I know. I'm just saying, like, I think it's going to be a terrible movie.
What? Deadpool or Deathpool? Which movie are we talking about?
Deadpool. I think Deadpool 3 is going to be terrible for 3 reasons. Number one, they're trying too hard to integrate the TVA, which it was successful in Loki, and it doesn't make any sense for the Deadpool series. Number two, you'll get it.
Why are they introducing the TVA to Deadpool?
Yes, see, that's my point. It's already confusing enough. That's already there. And number two, we know when you watch the thing, you'll know why, but don't ruin it for people. Comic nerd. What I'm saying is that they've also trying to do way too. I think they're going to be trying to do way too much in this movie. Like in Deadpool 2, when they were trying to put like Juggernaut in there and they're trying to put the secret cameos, they did too much. They didn't rely
Juggernaut went with the story.
No. I mean, in the sense of like the CGI shit that they tried just didn't work. Like him talking about, I always had a scene of you ripping me in half. Like, useless. There's a lot. The whole entire, that actual scene, the last scene of that movie was supposed to be the shootout. They cut the shootout because they wanted to use that money for advertising. So realistically, that movie never got the ending we wanted, and it suffered because of that. Now, I think the third movie is going to suffer from the exact same thing. Only difference this time, it's going to be a bunch of studio involvement. I have this sick feeling in my stomach that the studio is going to ruin that movie. They're going to overcast, throw as many heroes as they can now because they've got the Marvel canon and the X-Men canon, and they're allowed to just throw as many heroes as they want in there. And I think it's going to be overly saturated and boring. That's
So,
my personal
I'm
opinion.
gonna hop in this. I have a theory about this movie, and my theory is that Miss Marvel, you know, the sucky one that could stretch her arms and shit.
Yeah.
She's gonna end up being in this
You
movie.
mean a little Indian chick?
Yeah, she's gonna end up being in this movie, and they're gonna try and save her, and that's gonna be a ploy for Marvel
they
to
put
try and get
one
us to finally like that girl. That's a theory, though.
They put one more of these whatless females. I'm a freaking superhero, bro. I will be so cheese.
Bro, she's a child.
I'm
How
tired
you call
of
her
the
whatless?
agenda, bro. I'm tired
No,
of
but
the
it's
agenda.
not even the fact that
tired.
the problem is that it's not even the stories of the heroes. It's just terrible writing. Like, the movies are garbagely written.
Yo, and I don't have a problem with female lead
Character,
characters.
don't.
Because Aeon Flux, shout out to Charlize Theron, goddamn woman. But like, I could fucks with it all day long. I can't deal with a little
I thought you
packy
said you
child.
didn't like cartoons.
Aeon Flux was not a cartoon.
Yes, it was.
Well, Charlize Theron looked like flesh and blood to me in that.
Wait, no, it can't. The first,
All I do is throw lobs to victory out
the,
here.
the
eh?
first Aeon Flux was a cartoon, then it
Yes,
got turned
it
into a live
was.
animation.
It's a 1990s
Do you
cartoon.
think I ever seen that cart? Do I look
He's
like
not- he's not worried
I
about
watched
that.
cartoons past 10 years old? Bro?
Honestly,
no.
you should watch this particular one, though. And another one I'd give to you is
I'd
Heavy
rather-
Metal.
Oh Lord, no, he loses.
I was
mind.
watching heavy metal I was watching heavy metal when I have a
Yo, stop
stack
dating
of
yourself
heavy
out.
metal fucking
Yo, you're pulling
comics.
you're pulling
I have heavy
what's it
metal
called? King
magazines,
Combs.
bro. I have a
You're
stack
pulling
of
a
heavy
King
metal
Combs.
fucking magazines, bro. I'm pulling a what?
King Combs. You're baiting yourself out.
About what?
You don't
I'm
know.
having heavy
You
metal
don't know.
magazines?
No, you don't know. You don't know. It's a joke. It's a joke. Like earlier on this week, King Kong, like Puffy
That
son.
stupid diss track that
Yeah,
he
yeah,
did?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so in the diss track,
He
he's like,
basically,
yo,
like,
the
just
feds
snitched
raided
on
our house,
himself.
but they didn't raid the house beside
Beside us.
us.
Yeah, he
So they
snitched
own
on
both
himself.
houses.
Yeah, he snitched on himself and his family and his dad and everything. Like,
And then 50 Cent put that sound clip on like Twitter and Instagram.
and a picture of the house. Like he's like that, like with an arrow going that one, that one.
The apple doesn't fall far from the tree, apparently.
50 is like, I swear to God, he's the ultimate troll, bro. He's the ultimate troll.
He missed the opportunity. He should have said, "Take that, take that."
Well, back to what we were talking about Deadpool. Like, I kind of agree with Coley. I don't think this movie is going to be good.
Yeah.
Like, I watched the trailers, and the first trailer I watched, like, the fact that a Wolverine had to stab Death Pool, throwback, Death Pool in the balls. Like, they had to put that in the trailer, which
Means that's gonna be the funniest scene in the movie, and it's in the
so
commercial.
I think like they're
Yeah.
reaching already in the trailer. So maybe I'll be surprised like Deadpool 2 where like, Domino came out of nowhere and saved it and Juggernaut, but I'm not sure. I'm kind of skeptical on this one.
I think the reason why Deathpool will at least get some, like, it'll get his money back. So, is the movie going to suck? Yeah, that's questionable. Is it going to be a box office hit? Yeah. Why? Because it's the only superhero movie that we're getting until the end of the year. I think Kraven's the next one that's supposed to come out.
Yep.
So, that's a dry summer that you have to compete with.
And we're getting one anti-hero movie with
Venom?
Black Adam?
No. Yeah, it's Venom and Joker's coming out.
Well, yeah.
I
I
Lady
heard that's supposed
Gaga.
to be like a musical or something.
Yeah.
No, they just said it's because it has a musical girl in it. Nobody's confirmed that it's an actual musical. There's been no actual footage or no actual thing that releases that they be singing.
Cool. Anyways, so back to Deadpool. One of the things that's going to be good is that it's going to touch on all the the full toy box. So even though we're complaining about having a lot of cameos, if they do the right cameos, a lot of people will appreciate it because Sir Patrick Stewart's going to come back, obviously, in his Xmen. They're talking about trying to get most of the cast from the Xmen from the original series. Even Chris Hemsworth. No, Chris. Captain America.
Chris Evans?
Chris Evans. He's in talks to come back as Johnny Torch.
Really?
Yeah, because they have Miss Cannon now. They have
Oh yeah, because he was part of the Fantastic Four.
Yeah,
Right.
Fantastic
So
Four.
you see how it's kind of spriking on being like, hey,
And that's probably why the TVA comes into it, because he's the
We know
Torch
what.
from one Marvel universe, and now he's from another. I get it now.
So hold on.
But the whole thing is gonna be.
A wild scenario just popped in my head, and Jones is gonna like this one. What if the time traveler people
TVA.
the TVA? What if they change the timeline so that Morph doesn't die and he comes back in the movie so Jones could get excited?
LeChun strikes again.
So, anyways, enough of me, my nonsense.
So in earnest, they're gonna maximize on that, because look at how stupid people went when we got all 3 Spider-Man.
But that was actually good though.
Yeah, but that was
No,
great writing.
Like when we got the 3 Spider-Mans, like they pulled it off. It was great. I'm gonna say Sony, make another Spider-Man movie. Keep it going. Don't let Disney bring you down, because that's the one saving grace for the past little while.
Make another Spider-Man movie when it's owned by Marvel?
They own the rights to Spider-Man.
Birdman. Yeah.
So Sony owns the rights to Spider-Man and Venom.
Marvel can use
and
it in
some
the
other
comics.
people.
So they can use anybody from the Spider-Man universe.
Yeah.
So all the characters that are associated with Spider-Man in the Rose Gallery, they can do it in any movie or TV production. But they don't own the rights to him when it comes to animation or like comics.
Gotcha.
Marvel owns all of that.
Gotcha.
That's why
So,
you'll see Spider-Man and
And that's one of the reasons why you're seeing all these bullshit movies like Madam Web.
because they can't actually
What the
do.
fuck is Madam Web?
Don't ask.
Exactly.
It was a
Don't ask.
movie that came out that nobody watched.
Or Morbius?
Like a year, like literally
Morbius?
6 months ago it came out.
The vampire one?
That's
Yes.
the vampire one with Jared Leto?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Did anybody watch it? No.
No.
Straight hot garbage.
So
Same problem.
one of the things that's part of the
Oh, I watched it, I think. He was
Were
like
you
some
high when
doctor
you did?
trying to fucking like
Yeah,
cure
Morbius.
himself.
That was
Yeah.
actually
and,
the
and,
use
and
bat
then
DNA.
he cured himself
With
and
bat
then
DNA
he
and turned
killed
himself
his
into a
friend in
vampire.
the
My
lab or
whole thing
some
is
shit.
like, how did he not turn into Batman? Like that was a prime opportunity for a Batman origin story. Instead, we got this stupid vampire.
because the stupid vampire
Well,
came.
he's always been like
Been there, yeah. That's what I'm saying. We
Yeah.
always
Morbius
had
was
that.
a Marvel movie?
was
That's
a Marvel
that's from a
character.
comic book?
Yes.
That's how
It was
He's
in
from
the original.
Spider-Man.
Okay, you remember the original Spider-Man in when you were watching as a kid? It came out in that in that series as well.
Spider-Man fought an actual vampire and won?
Morbius has been in that series
What do
since
you
the
mean?
beginning.
He's a man spider. Yo, this guy has the strength. Spider-Man
Proportional strength of the
basically a day walker,
Versus a
bro.
vampire?
Yo, Spider-Man can throw a car. Let's be real.
Spider-Man
So
has
can a vampire.
Yeah, that's why it's an even match.
Yeah, but he's a vampire. All he has to do is rip out Spider-Man as soon as he gets close enough and go to just have lunch. All you gotta do is have lunch.
Versus
Here's the
What if
problem.
Spider-Man punches
Here's
him
the
in
problem.
the face?
Here's the problem. One has super senses that can evade anything, and the other one has super hunger to try and bite anything. That's why.
No, but
one
vampires
has
have
super
super
strength.
senses too. Like,
Yes.
am I the only one who read
They're
the
the
Anne Rice books?
same.
Interviewed
They're
the
the
vampire?
same senses.
And you also have to remember
One
that
is turned up. They're both turned up to the extreme. You got to remember how sensitive
Spider-Man has
a
that
spider
unreal
is.
strength, bro.
Think about how sensitive a spider
I've killed
sense
many.
is.
I don't know how sensitive their senses are, bro. When I go, they just dead.
Stop.
I'm just saying.
Oh,
They don't
boy.
get very far. Their senses don't help them very much when I come and slap the fuck out of them.
Well, anything else that they hunt, the senses are ridiculous. You're 3 times the size of the spider.
That's it? Just 3 times? What kind of spiders do you think I'm killing, homie?
Hey, remember, one of the bad guys that was actually able to kill Spider-Man was Sandman. And he
got
can
me out
get
here
super
killing
big,
tarantulas.
To a Sandman?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not gonna say nothing. Sandman's a good villain.
I
He
mean,
has his days.
the whole problem, like, we'll bring it back to like the whole thing with Deathpool. Is like the reason why. I think
That's
it's-
he did it.
Yo, honestly, Coley, I gotta stop you. Hey, if you're listening to this, Death Pool's a real thing now. We're gonna put it on t-shirt. But like, subscribe, tell us more of the adventures of Death Pool. And hey, this comes back from an episode from before where Coley himself made the brand new superhero Death Pool.
Yeah, I might do one of those like YouTube links to that episode, like right. there.
But either
Like, subscribe, share the report on YouTube, the report on TikTok, the report YYZ on Instagram. 4 rolls on the back of this nigga's neck. Holla back at us.
Death pool forever.
4 rolls, no buns.